Hello, my name is Jiso and I'm reading Master Dōgen's Shōbōgenzō. We are on chapter 73, Sanjushichi-Bon-Bodai-Bunpo, 37 Elements of Bodhi. And we've reached paragraph 15. The four kinds of right restraint, also called the four kinds of right exertion. The first is to prevent bad that has not yet occurred. The second is to cause to be extinguished bad that has already occurred. The third is to cause to occur good that has not yet occurred. And the fourth is to promote the good that has already occurred. To prevent bad that has not yet occurred. What is called bad does not always have established forms and grades. The term has been established land by land and sphere by sphere. Nevertheless, prevention of that which has not yet occurred is called the Buddha Dharma, and we have received its authentic transmission. They say that in the understanding of non-Buddhists, the primeval self is seen as fundamental, but in the Buddha Dharma we should not be like that. Now, let us inquire at the time when bad has not yet occurred, where is it? To say that it will exist in the future is to be forever a non-Buddhist of nihilism. To say that the future becomes the present is not an insistence of the Buddha Dharma. The three times would have been confused. If the three times were confused, all Dharmas would be confused, and if all Dharmas were confused, real form would be confused. For this reason, we do not say that the future will, in future, become the present. Let us inquire further. What thing does bad that has not yet occurred describe? Who has known it or seen it? For it to be known and seen, there must be a time of its non-occurrence and a time of something other than its non-occurrence. In that case, it could not be called something that has not yet occurred. It would have to be called something that has already vanished. Without studying under non-Buddhists or Shravakas and others of the small vehicle, we should learn in practice the prevention of bad that has not yet occurred. All the bad in the universe is called bad that has not yet occurred, and it is bad that does not appear. Non-appearance means yesterday preaching an established rule, today preaching an exception to the rule. Footnote, in other words, non-appearance describes the state at the moment of the present. The expression that yesterday preaching an established rule, today preaching an exception to the rule also appears in chapter 4, Ika no Myojo, but the original source has not been traced. To cause to be extinguished bad that has already occurred. Already occurring means totally happening. Totally happening means half happening. Half happening means what is happening here and now. What is happening here and now is obstructed by itself. Is obstructed by happening itself. It has sprung free from the brains of happening. Causing this bad to be extinguished describes Devadatta's living body entering hell and Devadatta's living body attaining affirmation. It describes a living body entering a donkey's womb and a living body becoming Buddha. Grasping this principle, we should learn in practice what causing extinction means. Extinction means springing free from extinction and getting clear of it. Footnote, Devadatta, one of the Buddha's cousins, is said to have fallen into hell because he committed the 5 worst sins. Nevertheless, in chapter 12 of the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha says, Devadatta also in future, after countless ages have passed, will be able to become a Buddha. Okay. To cause to occur good that has not yet occurred is satisfaction with the features we had before our parents were born, is clarification prior to the sprouting of creation, and is understanding preceding majestic sound. To promote the good that has already occurred, remember, this does not speak of causing to occur the good that has already occurred. It is about promoting good. It is the Buddha, having seen for himself the bright star, going on to make others see the bright star. It is eyes becoming the bright star. It is confusion being followed by 30 years of not lacking for salt and vinegar. For example, because we are promoting good, good is already happening, and so the ravine being deep, the dipper's handle is long, and only because we had it did he come. Confusion being followed by 30 years of not lacking for salt and vinegar. That's Master Baso Doetsu expressing satisfaction with his life as a monk. In the 30 years that had followed confusion, I've never lacked for salt and vinegar. Great expression. Let's go on. The 4 bases of mystical ability. The first is volition as a base of mystical ability. The second is mind as a base for mystical ability. The third is forward progression as a base for mystical ability. And the fourth is thinking as a base of mystical ability. Volition as a base of mystical ability is the body-mind aiming to become Buddha. It is looking forward to the pleasure of a nap, and it is why I bow to you. In sum, volition as a mystical basis is utterly beyond the purposes of a body and mind. It is birds flying in the boundless sky and fish swimming in water that is clear to the bottom. That's familiar. Aiming to become Buddha, Master Baso's words. Looking forward to the pleasure of a nap. Words of Master Sekito Kisen. Why I bow to you. Third line of a poem by Master Tendo Nyojo. Birds flying in the boundless sky and fish swimming in water that is clear to the bottom. Alludes to a verse by Master Wanshi Shokaku quoted in chapter 17, Zazenshin. Mind as a base of mystical ability is fences, walls, tiles and pebbles. It is mountains, rivers and the earth. It is individual instances of the triple world. It is the completely red bamboo and wood of a chair. Because all mind is able to be utilized, the mind of the Buddhist patriarchs can exist. The mind of the common and the sacred can exist. The mind of grass and trees can exist. And the mind of fantastic apparitions can exist. All mind is mind as a base of the mystical. The red bamboo and the wood of a chair is the master's ceremonial chair used for precept ceremonies, etc. It is always bright red. Forward progression as a base of mystical ability is being on top of a 100-foot pole and stepping straight ahead. Where is the top of a 100-foot pole? They say that we cannot find it without going straight ahead. A step straight ahead is not to be denied, but this place is the place where something ineffable exists. Explain it as going forward or explain it as going back. Just in the moment of forward expression as a base of the mystical, the whole universe in 10 directions, following from that mystical base, arrives. Following from that mystical base, it has arrived. Forward progression, just note, means to advance, progress, move forward. And I'm going to move on. Thinking as a base of mystical ability is all the Buddhist patriarchs, their karmic consciousness unclear, having nothing upon which they can originally rely. There is thinking by the body, there is thinking by the mind, there is thinking by consciousness, there is thinking by straw sandals, and there is thinking by the self which precedes the kalpa of emptiness. These are also called the four bases of free will. They are a state without hesitation. Shakyamuni Buddha says, not yet moving and yet having arrived is called the base of free will. In conclusion then, sharpness is like the point of a needle and squareness is like the side of a chisel. The 5 root forces. The first is belief as a root. The second is diligence as a root. The third is mindfulness as a root. The fourth is balance as a root. And the fifth is wisdom as a root. Belief as a root, remember, is beyond self, beyond others, beyond our own intention, beyond our own contrivance, beyond outside influence, and beyond independently established criteria. Thus, it has been transmitted intimately between East and West. Belief demonstrated with the whole body is called belief. It follows inevitably from the condition of Buddhahood, following circumstances completely and following itself completely. Unless the condition of Buddhahood is present, the belief is not realized. For this reason, it is said that the great ocean of the Buddha Dharma is entered by belief itself. In sum, the place where the belief is realized is the place where Buddhist patriarchs are realized. Diligence as a root is to have been concentrating on just sitting. It is to rest without being able to rest. It is to have got rest and still to be getting rest. It is a terribly hard worker. It is one who does not work so hard. It is a terribly hard, not hard-working first and second moon. Shakyamuni Buddha says, I have constantly practiced diligence, and for this reason I have already realized Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. This constant practicing is head-to-tail rightness, through the whole past, present, and future. I constantly practice diligence, says, I have already realized Bodhi. Because I have already realized the supreme truth of Bodhi, I constantly practice diligence. How else could it be constant practice? How else could I have already realized it? Commentary teachers and sutra teachers cannot see or hear this teaching. How much less could they have learned it in practice? Mindfulness as a root is a withered tree as a mass of red flesh. Footnote, withered tree suggests a person sitting in the state of detachment. A temple zazen hall was sometimes called the withered tree hall. That doesn't explain a mass of red flesh. Okay. We call a mass of red flesh a withered tree, and a withered tree is mindfulness as a root. We ourselves who are groping for the mark, are mindfulness. There is mindfulness that exists in moments of owning one's body, and there is mindfulness that exists in moments of having no mind. There is conscious mindfulness, and there is mindfulness in which there is no body. The very life root of all the people on earth is mindfulness as a root. The very life root of all the Buddhas in the 10 directions is mindfulness as a root. There can be many people in one state of mindfulness, and many states of mindfulness in one person. At the same time, there are people who have mindfulness and there are people who do not have mindfulness. People do not always have mindfulness, and mindfulness is not necessarily connected with people. Even so, through the skillful maintenance of this mindfulness as a root, the virtue of perfect realization exists. Balance as a root is keeping one's eyebrows to oneself, or lifting up an eyebrow. Thus, it is both not being unclear about cause and effect and not falling subject to cause and effect, and consequently entering the womb of a donkey or entering the womb of a horse. It is like a rock enveloping a jewel. We cannot call it completely rock or completely jewel. It is like the ground bearing mountains. We cannot call it totally ground or totally mountains. At the same time, it springs out from the brain and springs in. Wisdom as a root is not knowing of the existence of the Buddhas of the three times, but knowing the existence of cats and white oxen. That's a good one, that, isn't it? That's a quote from Master Nansen Fugen. I do not know about the existence of Buddhas of the three times, but I know the existence of cats and white oxen. We should not say, why is it so? It is beyond expression. In the nostrils exist in-breath and out-breath. In a fist exist fingertips. A donkey maintains and relies upon a donkey. A well meets with a well. And in conclusion, a root succeeds to a root. We'll move on with our Sanjushichi-Bon-Bodai-Bunpo tomorrow. Take care.